Hi everyone, welcome to the first lesson, thus alphabet. The alphabet is the key to the entire lexicography of a language. And the best thing about German is knowing the alphabet, the vowels, the consonants and their combinations means knowing how to pronounce almost every single word in German. Because in German we speak exactly the way we write. But what is the alphabet? The alphabet is the set of all the letters used within a language. The word alphabet itself has a very interesting etymology. It comes from the first two letters of the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, alphabet. But it's important to note that the alphabet is different from letters. For example, in English, A is not an alphabet, it is a letter of the alphabet. In German, we call individual letters Buchstaben. This is how the German alphabet looks. As you can see, it is very similar to the alphabet in English, but there are a few special characters that we'll take a look at in the next video. Let's go through the alphabet one letter at a time. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So that's the alphabet for you. And like I said, the magic is in the doing. So keep practicing the alphabet, and the best way to do that is to make use of the alphabet songs that all of us have done. For example, for the English alphabet song that we learned in school. On YouTube, you'll find a number of videos that do this, and you'll also find a few links below here. Make use of it, sing the alphabet, and before you know, you would have the whole set by heart. But practicing the alphabet goes beyond learning the whole set of characters as such. You must practice it in real life scenarios as well. Now think about it. When do you need to spell out words in real life? Maybe you will need to spell out your name, especially when you're talking to people from other countries or other regions. Sometimes you need to spell out your email IDs or website addresses. Make use of those scenarios to practice it. And let's take an example here. I will spell out my name. My name is Abhiraj. Spell with me. A, B, H, I, R, A, J. Let's take another name, a little complex one. Zoya Akhtar. Z, O, Y, A, K, H, T, A, R. Let's take a city. I come from Pune. It's a fairly simple one. P, U, N, A. Let's take a web address. I'll spell out the web address of pulseoflearning.com. P, U, L, S, A, O, F, L, A, A, R, N, E, N, G, Punkt, com, C-O-M. That's it. Make use of these scenarios, spell out your names, practice with your Insta handles or your email IDs, etc. And like I said, before you know, all of this will sit. So that's it for the alphabet. In the next video, we'll take a look at the special characters. See you. Hi guys, let's dive right in. Apart from the similarities between the English and the German alphabet, the use of special characters starts giving German a distinctly different feel. We have 4 special characters in the German alphabet. 3 of them are vowel sounds and 1 is a consonant sound. Let's start with the special character SZ. It looks probably like the symbol beta, but it is actually a simple combination of the 2 letters S and Z. That's why it's called SZ. This character has no capital form and the pronunciation is simply S. Like you will often find it written with a double S, SS. That's only for the sound. For example, in this word, the pronunciation will be heißen, or here it will be gross. It is important to remember that although SZ makes the sound of SS, you should never replace SZ with the letters SS when you're writing. The reason for that we'll come to know in a later video. For now, it's important to remember that SZ simply makes the sound S. Let's now come to the vowel sounds. In German, there are 3 special vowel sounds that we get by adding the umlaut over the vowels. Umlaut means 2 dots, and in German we can place these 2 dots over the vowels A, O and U. The word umlaut quite literally means a rounding sound, and it's important to remember that in German the umlaut can be added only to these 3 vowels A, O and U. Let's begin with the first, that is A umlaut. The sound would be A. Once again, A. We get this sound by starting with the A sound, A, and then slightly opening the mouth, A, A, A. Let's take a few examples. For example, the word spät. Once again, spät. Let's take another word. Äpfel. Äpfel. A point to remember would be that sometimes this letter with an umlaut might not be available on keyboards, in which case we often use the letters A and A to represent this sound. Let's come to the second special vowel sound, which we get by adding the umlaut to O. We call it O umlaut or Ö. Once again, Ö. We get to this sound, a simple way to practice this would be to say EO. EO. Say with me, EO. And make the E short. Say EO. EO. So most often when this character comes in words, you can simply say the yo sound, as we would write in English with the Y-O, yo. For example, hören. But if a word starts with O umlaut, then you will need to say it with an sound in the beginning like we practiced. Ö. For example, this word, öl. Öl. Again, if the keyboard does not have the possibility of O umlaut, you can simply type an OE, for example, in your email IDs or website addresses. The last special vowel character that we have is U umlaut, that we pronounce as U. Once again, U. Again, just as we did with O umlaut, a method to practice this would be to say ew, ew, and make the E short, ew. If you see a U umlaut in a word, it would be pronounced simply as a YU in English, as in this word, tutor. Without the umlaut, you would pronounce the word as tutor, but with the umlaut, you'll pronounce it as tutor. If a word starts with the O umlaut, you will need to get the sound in the beginning, like U, as in this word, Übung. That's it. So those are the 4 special characters in the German alphabet. We have one consonant sound, SZ, as in the word heißen, and then the 3 vowel sounds, the A umlaut, as in spät, the O umlaut, as in hören, and the U umlaut, as in tutor. I'll see you in the next video. Hi guys, welcome to the second module of Akzentfrei, in which we are going to take a closer look at the vowels. Now the vowels carry out a large part of the phonetic function of a word. Besides, a lot of vowel sounds are quite similar to each other, because of which it can sometimes get very confusing. So let's take a look at all the vowels one by one. Alles schön slowly. The first vowel is A. Now, as we saw earlier, German words are written exactly the way they are spoken. So remember that whenever you see A, the word will always be pronounced with the sound A. For example, in this word, because this word is similar to English, we might tend to pronounce it as Ball, but in German it will be pronounced as Ball. Or this word, say with me, Radio, or here, anders. Because we know English, we might tend to pronounce this as Anders, but in German it will have to be pronounced as anders. Sometimes a word will have double R, that is AA. The only difference will be that the sound will be a little long. In a later module, we are going to see when the vowel sounds are long or short. For now, it's important to remember that double R gives us a long R, as in this word, Start or Paar. or Aachen. That is it. The next vowel is A. As the sound says, it's A, so whenever you see this vowel in a letter, you have to produce the sound A, as in the word geben or sprechen. The important thing to remember is that sometimes A will be long, as in the word geben. Sometimes it will be short, as in the word sprechen. When it is long and when it is short, we'll take a look in a later module. Till that time, remember that it's going to be A. As with the case of A, sometimes you will get a double vowel. This is where it can get especially confusing for people who speak English, as in this word. Generally, you will pronounce it as C, but in German, it becomes Z, or this word, which becomes T. As the sound tells us, whenever you see this letter in a word, just pronounce the sound A. Let's take a look at a few examples. This word will be Mercedes. Once again, Mercedes. Or this word will be Leben. And here, English, and not English, but English. Lastly, when A comes at the end of a word, its pronunciation becomes A, so that this word will be pronounced as Danke and not Danke. Danke. Repeat after me. Danke. Similarly, this word would be bitter and not bitte, but bitter. That's it about A. Let's once go through all the words once again. We have Mercedes, then Leben, then English, double vowel, Z or T, A at the end, Danke, bitter. That's it for the vowel A. So the next vowel is E, and it will always be pronounced as E and never as the English I. For example, this word. In English, we'll call it biology, but in German, it is always going to be pronounced as Biologie. Or this word. In English, it will be bilingual, but in German, it is going to be bilingual. Repeat after me, bilingual. Let's take another example. Indian, or this one, Krise. Now, sometimes the E will be short and long. You know this already. We are going to take a look at the rules later. For now, it's important to remember that E is always going to be pronounced as E. Let's take a look at all the words once again. Repeat after me. Biologie, bilingual, Indian, Krise. So that brings us to O. Now the important thing for O is that sometimes it can be pronounced as O, as in wohl, or A, as in toll. It's again a play of long and short vowels. When O is short, it's pronounced as A, as in toll. When it is long, it is pronounced as O. as in vowel. You know that we are going to take a look at it in a later module. So for now, just remember that short O is O, long O is O. Now, when we have a double vowel, the pronunciation is a long O and not U as in English. For example, this word in English is zu, but in German we'll call it zo. Once again, zo. Or this word is not going to be boot, rather boat. So that's it about O. Let's take a look at a few other examples where O features. For example, in this word, Komme, it's short, Komme. Or this word, Sonntag, once again it's short, or Sonntag. In this word, it's long, Montag. Once again, Montag. Or here, Mode. Once again, Mode. And lastly, a word with double vowel, doof, and not doof, but doof. Speaking of U, here we are, our last individual vowel sound. Now it's very important to remember that U will always be pronounced as U and never as U as in English. Sometimes in English you also pronounce it as but in German it's always going to be pronounced as U. Let's take a look at a few examples. This word in English would be pronounced as hat, but in German it will be Hut, which means a hat. So once again, Hut. Or this word in English will be pronounced as music, but in German we'll always pronounce it as Musik. Say after me, Musik. So that's the simple pronunciation of U. Let's take a look at a few examples once again. Hut, Musik, super, super, here it is short, Institut. Again, remember in English it would be institute, there will be an E at the end, but in German it is without the E at the end and is pronounced as Institut. And we are done with the vowels. Now in the next video we are going to take a look at some vowel combinations which are known as diphthongs. See you in the next video. Hey guys, let's jump right in. Now that we know our base vowel sounds, let's go ahead and take a look at diphthongs. Firstly, what are diphthongs? Diphthong is simply a fancy word for vowel combinations. And we are already ahead because we know 3 vowel combinations already. The umlaut, A umlaut, E, which is written as A, E, O umlaut, Ö, O, E, and U umlaut, Ü, U, E. Woo! Let's take a look at other diphthongs. So let's begin with a pair of diphthongs that can be very confusing to German learners. I'm talking about AE, which is pronounced as I, and EA, which is pronounced as E. Now, new learners always get confused between the two sounds. Actually, there's a very simple trick to remember this. For that, we'll need to switch to English. This diphthong is written as EI, as in the English letters E and I. It ends with I its pronunciation is I. Similarly, this diphthong is written as IE. Again, I'm using the English letters here. IE ends in E, so it's pronounced as E. It's a simple trick to remember. Let's take a look at a few examples. This word has AE, the German letters, so it's going to be pronounced as light, whereas this one will be lead. Once again, light, lead. Consider this pair. Here it is AE, so it will be riser, and here it is EA, so it will be reaser. A few other examples. Look at the word and try to pronounce. Eins, zwei, drei, vier, sieben. Our next diphthong is AU, and it's pronounced literally like the two vowels A and U put together. Say Au. An easy way to remember this is with the sentence Ich komme aus Pune. Aus and not aus. Or another word that we learn in the very beginning is auch. Ich komme auch aus Pune. Let's take a look at a few other examples. This word will be house. It's easy to remember because it sounds like in English, house. Or this one will be auto and not auto. Say after me, auto, das Auto. Or this one will be laut, Raum, sauber. That's it for AU. Lastly, we have two diphthongs, that is different vowel combinations that produce the same sound. They are oi, a umlaut u, and oi, au. This can sometimes get confusing, so just practice the words with it. Let's practice a umlaut u. This word would be aufräumen. It's a good word to practice because you get both au in the beginning, auf, and räumen, a umlaut u. Aufräumen. Repeat after me. Aufräumen. Then träume. The singular form of this word is Traum. It's au, Traum, Träume. Similarly, Häuser. Again, the singular is Haus and the plural is Häuser. Once again, aufräumen, Träume, Häuser. Now let's take out the next one, that is AU. Its pronunciation is also oi. For this word, it will be Leute. Very often we'll tend to pronounce it as Lute. That's where the English is coming in. But we have to be careful to pronounce this as Leute or heute or the number 9. Once again, Leute, heute, 9. So that's all, folks, for German vowels. I'd just like to give you a couple of tips for practicing the vowel sounds. The first one is a children's song called Drei Chinesen mit dem Kontrabass. I've put the YouTube link below. Please take a look at it. It's a fun song, and once you get the idea, you can just keep on producing more sounds and singing the song. It's a lot of fun. All children have great fun with it. The second tip is a children's book called Die Eule mit der Boiler. It's a beautiful children's book. Don't worry if you don't have a copy of the book. There is a YouTube video again in the form of a song, and it's fantastic. So songs in general are a very good way to practice pronunciation, and here for our vowels it can be very useful. That's it. I'll see you in the next video. Hi guys, now that we have seen the vowels in German, let's move on to take a look at the consonant sounds. So let's begin with the consonant B. It's a no-brainer. Its sound is always going to be B, but there's one thing that you have to remember and pay attention to. Whenever B comes at the end of a word or a syllable, its pronunciation is going to change to P. For example, in the word gelb, or when we say ich habe, very often you shorten it and you say ich hab. There we pronounce it as hab. Of course, don't make it too obvious. Hab, like that. Simple. Ich hab. It's a subtle P sound. This phenomenon is called Auslautsverhärtung. It's a complex word. I have put a YouTube link below where I explain this phenomenon a little more in detail. So be sure to take a look at it. Let's take a look at a few examples. The word ob, which means whether or if, the pronunciation will be ob. Or another conjunction, obwohl. You have to say obwohl and not obwohl, but obwohl. Just keep that in mind for B. Now for say, the pronunciation can be quite different depending upon the word. In many international words, the pronunciation is k, as in cafe or chaos. In few words, the pronunciation is exactly as the letter sounds, ts. For example, circa. Now circa is interesting because you have two t's and each is pronounced differently. Circa. In some French words, for example, C will be pronounced as S, as in English also. For example, the word balance or chance. So depending upon the word, the sound will change. So you just need to remember which word will be pronounced how. Otherwise, it's not so difficult. Let's go on to the next consonant, which is D. Now, the question becomes, is the sound the or d? And that's a little tricky to understand. First thing is, they can produce both the sounds. So for words like du, it is more towards the sound. Now when it comes to this sound d, as in dach or doppel, the sound can be a little confusing. For example, in my mother tongue, I come from Maharashtra, my mother tongue is Marathi. We have this sound in my mother tongue. But the way it sounds in Marathi and the way it should sound in German is slightly different. Say it if you speak Marathi or Hindi, or I think most of the Indian languages, you know this sound. Repeat after me. D, as in Duffrey, door, or in Marathi, Damru, Doka. If you try to pronounce these words slowly, where is the tongue touching the roof of the mouth? If you observe closely, the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth slightly behind. It's slightly at the back. And that's why the sound is a little heavy. D. In German, it is not like that. You should not say Dach or Doof. That's a little too heavy. In fact, it should sound like Doof or Dach. It's a little softer. So where do you touch the tongue? To the roof of the mouth. You have to touch at the bridge between the hard and the soft palates of the mouth. What does that mean? If you trace the roof of the mouth with your tongue, you will see that there is a slight bump, after which it curves a little higher. Right? It's like a speed breaker bump, and it just curves a little higher. It's exactly at that bump where you should touch the tongue, so that it will create a soft tinkling sound. D, d, and not d, d, dah, doppel. Let's take a look at a few examples like this. D, when you pronounce it, you can hear the tinkling sound. D, Deutsch, danke. Good. Now, another thing that you have to remember with day is if a word ends with day, as in if day comes at the end of a word or at the end of a syllable, its pronunciation is going to change. It's not going to be d, rather it's going to be t. For example, the word und. Here we don't pronounce it as und, but we pronounce it as und. Or the word Lied, Land, Hund. This is similar to when we had a word ending with B, the pronunciation was becoming P. With D, it becomes T. Again, take a look at the video on YouTube where I explain this phenomenon a little more in detail. So now we have the next consonant, which is F, and similar to English, F produces the sound F. Remember, the letter is F and not Fa or the Fe. The sound is of course F, just as in English. So a couple of examples: fahren or fliegen or fünf. That's it. Nothing special about F. It's nothing different than in English. So let's hop on to the next consonant, which is G. Now you need to be careful about G because there are lots of combinations of sounds that can come with G. The first rule is that in German, for all German words, originally German words, the pronunciation is always going to be G. For instance, in the words geben or Gitarre, simple like in English, but this will be Giraffe and not Giraffe, but Giraffe. In some words, however, G will give you the J sound, as in ingénieur. Repeat after me. Ingénieur. Now how do you get this J sound? This is not like the J sound that we have in Marathi or in Hindi. So you should not say ingénieur. No, it's ingénieur, J. Now how do you get this? It's actually fairly simple. Say shh. Once again, shh. Now while you're saying shh, put a finger on your throat and see if you feel any vibration. Shh, if you're doing it rightly, you should not feel any vibration. That's because you do not use your vocal cords when you're saying sh. Now, use your voice while saying sh such that it vibrates. Say sh, sh, sh. Do you feel the vibration? That's the sound that we want. So you should say ingénieur, je, which means if you whisper the word ingénieur, you should hear it ingénieur. You should hear a sh and not ingénieur, not a ch. Sh, ingénieur. So that's a good way to practice the word. Whisper it saying ingénieur and then say it aloud, ingénieur. Repeat after me, ingénieur, ingénieur. This is a French word, so very many French words keep their pronunciations in German. The same is the case with the word engagement. Again, it's a French word, that's why even in the beginning we have an, but it's not pronounced as n, rather en, and then the first g is pronounced as ga, enga, and then it's je, engagement. It's same as ingénieur, j, engagement. And again, another word, another French word, régisseur, which means director of a film or a theater. The pronunciation is régisseur, not régisseur, but régi, j. If you whisper it, you'll get régisseur, régisseur, that way. The last thing is when ge comes at the end of a word. Similar to the cases of be coming at the end or de coming at the end, if ge comes at the end of a word or a syllable, its pronunciation will be k. So the word would be tag and not tag, but tag. Repeat after me, tag. Or this word, which will be Zug. It will not be Zug, but Zug. Or this one, Krieg. Here you see the diphthong is E-A, the pronunciation is E, and the word is going to be Krieg. G at the end will give you a K sound. Now, a caveat is if there is ge at the end, but it's not just ge, rather a combination of ege. In this case, the pronunciation changes to ich. It's similar to the word for I in German, which is ich, as in the words billig or eilig. Again, here you will see the other diphthong, and towards the end it will be eilig, or the number 20. So let's move on to the next consonant, ha. The pronunciation of ha is straightforward. There are only a few cases where it is silent, although we don't call it that. We'll see that. Let's take a look at a few words. Let's take the word house. We have already seen this. It's a simple ha sound in the beginning, house. Or this one, hunt. A couple of rules are coming here. De is coming at the end, so we'll pronounce as te, but the beginning is ha, hunt. When ha comes in the middle of a word, sometimes it remains silent, like in this word. We should never pronounce it as gehen, rather gehen. The effect is that the vowel is becoming long. We will study this part in a later module in a little bit detailed manner. For now, it is important for you to remember that the ha should not be pronounced like this when it is preceded by a vowel. In this case, it is eha. Don't pronounce it as gehen, rather say gehen. Or this word, it is näher. It's not näher, India near, 9. It is near, India near. And now we are going to take a look at the next consonant, which is yacht. It's pronounced as yacht, but the sound will be y. For example, in words like ja, the simplest of words, or jetzt, which means now. Repeat after me. Jetzt. Or Jacke. Januar is the month. Again, Januar. Juni, that's the month of June. Juni. Or the following month, Juli. July. Juli. In some international words, yacht will be pronounced as j, as in joggen, which means to jog. Ich jogge. Or even this word, job. Remember, b at the end will pronounce as p, so this word will pronounce as job. And this word, journalist. Pay attention to the way the j sound is produced here. It's like in ingénieur, it's again French je, journalist. However, in some international words, yacht retains its y sound. For example, words like yogurt or jaguar. In English it's jaguar, but in German it will be Jaguar or Japan. That's it for yacht. So next we have a group of 3 consonant sounds. We are going to jump a little, we are not going in sequence, simply because these 3 sounds, the way we produce them is very similar. We call them respiratory sounds, which means we have to exhale out when we produce these sounds. The first of this is the consonant ka. Now, especially people who speak Marathi as their mother tongue, or maybe even Hindi, this is something that you should pay special attention to, because in Marathi or in Hindi the sound is a simple k, k, but in German it is not a simple k, rather it is k. Okay, for example, let's take a look at these words, kann and not kan. You must say kann or comma. Again, comma and not simply comma. Pay attention to the vowel sound also. This is a short O, that's why it should be pronounced as O, and the word becomes comma. Also, the A comes at the end, and so it is a. So many rules are being applied in this particular word. The word becomes comma. Next we have camera. Once again, camera. And the last word in this group will be Katze. Once again, k, Katze. The next consonant sound, which also belongs to this group, will be the letter P. Again, it is not a simple P, but P, and you should make it sound like that. A few examples would be parken. You have P and K both. Say it, parken. And then plan. Once again, plan. See, the vowel I is coming. In English it would be plan, but in German we have to retain the R sound. So combining it would be plan. And lastly, Person. You see, the vowel sounds are retained. In English it will be person. Here it's going to be Person. Alright. The last consonant in this particular group will be T. It is also respiratory, which means we'll have to exhale out. The word is T. Once again, te and not te. When you say t, remember the position of the tongue when we did de, the bridge where the soft palate curves into the hard palate curves into the soft palate. Touch the tongue exactly there and you'll get t. Again, it's a tinkling sound. Don't make it too heavy by touching the tongue at the back. Don't make it te, rather te. The next word would be tuer. Once again, tuer and not tuer. Lastly, temperatur. Once again, temperatur. So that's it for this lesson. We'll take a look at the remaining consonants in the next video. I'll see you there. So in this video we are going to take a look at the remaining consonants and we are going to start with ku. So the thing is, there are not very many words that begin with ku and its pronunciation is very similar to that of ka, which we saw in the previous video. And mostly the words that begin with ku, there is always like a combination of ku and u. It's a q and u. There are of course a few words even in German that are international words that might be ku and e, but they are very rare, and most German words will be ku, u, and the pronunciation would be like kw. So you have to say almost like ka and ve, that sound. Take a look at this word. So the pronunciation would be Qualität. It will not be Qualität. That's a danger. If you know English or if you know Marathi, Hindi, that you'll tend to pronounce it like that. You have to say it literally Qua, Qualität, or Quantität, or here Quelle, or here finally Quälen. So remember, k, that's a sound associated with ku, and mostly it will be ku, u, and the pronunciation would be kw. So our next consonant is r. Now this is for some reason a problematic consonant because the way the Germans pronounce the r is very different and difficult for most of us to pronounce. The r in German is pronounced from here. Like for example, if you're gargling, then try it literally. Take some warm water and little try and gargle. You'll see that most of the times the voice will come, the sound will come from here. And that's the place from where even for simple words they'll produce this R sound, the sound from here. For example, in this word, which is rennen, they will try to pronounce it as rennen. Now it's very difficult even for me to pronounce it, and so my advice to you all is it doesn't matter. You can roll your R's, you can call it a simple R as we have it in Hindi, Marathi, English. It really doesn't matter. And by, if you're able to produce this sound from here without too much pain in your throat, do that. But getting the R exactly right is not so critical. Like, don't major in minor things. Because even in Germany, there are many dialects, and in some dialects, people literally roll the R. That means they produce it in the front of the mouth, rennen, like that. So it is okay. There are many other things that you can do easily and that you must focus on rather than trying very hard to produce the R sound from here. So I'll simply read out a few words, repeat after me. If you can get the R sound from the back of your throat, no problem, great, but otherwise don't fret about it. Let's take a look at the words. The first one would be rennen. The second is radio, a simple radio. The third is runter. Once again, runter. Now, a more important thing to remember when you're talking about R is when it comes together with vowels, especially when it comes after the vowels, and then the pronunciation of the vowels changes a little bit. So for example, if you have R, this just makes the R sound longer. Okay, so for example, in this word the pronunciation would be Arbeit. The R sound becomes long. Or in this word it is Armut. So whenever you see R, just make it slightly long. Don't pronounce the R. Don't say Arbeit or Armut. No, just simply Arbeit. Even in the verb it would be arbeiten or Armut or arm, minor armor. Okay. What is it? Next we'll see when R comes after the vowel A. Now here we should not pronounce it as R, rather the pronunciation would be A. The R is again not pronounced. This is also because when the Germans pronounce it, they will try to get the R sound from here, and automatically you will feel a dip in the sound, like air, like that. For us, we can simply call it air and get the exact result, which makes it very simple. So never call it R, always call it air. Like in these examples, we should say erklären. So it's not erklären, it's erklären. Erklären. Or here it would be erzählen. It's not simply erzählen, erzählen. Or in the article it will be der and not der. It's der. Or in the question it would be wer, not wer. Wer ist das? Nee, wer ist das? That will give your pronunciation that slight German edge, which is so difficult to get otherwise. Remember, we have seen air. If some consonant comes before it, like in this prefix, the VAR, the pronunciation remains exactly the same, just at the sound of that consonant before it. So here it becomes fair. So this word should be verstehen. It should not be verstehen, but verstehen or verkaufen. Verkaufen. Even if it is short, make it verkaufen. Or here it would be vermieten. Vermieten. Don't say it vermieten, vermieten. Let's take a look now at ER, and just as with AR, this becomes ear. All of you know the personal pronouns mir. You don't say mir, you say mir. Similarly, you don't say dir, you say dir. Or you don't say wir lernen Deutsch, no. Wir lernen Deutsch. Wir. So that's the same principle applied to all vowels followed by an R. You have to give it a nice rounding ear sound after that. And same would be the case if you have an H in the middle. So you'll have ear. Or in the case of slightly longish words, we'll have it as wirbel and not wirbel. Wirbel. Continuing with the same logic, we now have O and R, and again the pronunciation is going to be O and not or. So this word becomes Tor. Yeah, not Tor, Brandenburger Tor, no. Tor. It's a simply O, Tor. Or even in this prefix, it is vorbereiten, and not vorbereiten, no, vorbereiten. Lastly, we have the U together with the R, and same way it is pronounced as Ur. So the word would be uralt or Ursache. Similar to the Ur, where an H comes, the pronunciation is Ur. Even without the H, it is Ur. So let's have a few more examples. It would be Burg, or it would be Tour, as in Temperatur. Not Temperatur, but Temperatur. So that's it about the consonant sound R. Remember, original German, it is from here. You don't really need to fret about it. If you can easily get there, no problem. Otherwise, don't stress too much upon it, and pay attention to the vowel sounds together with the R. So now we'll take a look at the consonant S. This is one of the few consonant sounds that can be confusing because it is different in English and German. So normally S produces the S sound as in English. No problems at all. The problem is when a word begins with an S, and mostly it will be followed with a vowel sound, in which case it is not pronounced as S, rather Z. For example, the simplest word Sie, that's the very first word that you come to know. In V heißen Sie, and it's not C, it is Z. Now how do we get this Z sound? It is not like the Marathi Z or even the English Z. J. No. It is maybe in Urdu we have a sound like that. And I'll tell you a very simple trick to do that. Again, use your hand or a couple of your fingers and put them on your throat and simply say S, like a snake. S. Do you feel any vibration? If you're doing it right, you should not. Now try to produce a sound such that you will get a vibration while producing the same sound. Zzz. It's a sound that you make when you are trying to imitate the sound of a bee, the humming bee, no? Zzz. It's that sound. Zzz. So if you whisper the Z, you'll get S. So that's the thing. That's what happens when we add a vowel after S. We get a voice to it, and that's why the pronunciation becomes Z. So it's Z. Let's take a look at a few examples. Here we have Sand. It will not be Sa, but it will be Za. Sand. Z. Sand. Then the next one, we have Segen. Repeat after me. Segen. Or here, it would be Zin. Not Sin, rather Zin. Then we have Sommer. So, Sommer. After that, Zummer. Once again, Zummer. Or we have Zeus. Zeus. Even if it comes between words and if it's the beginning of a new syllable, we are going to take a look at syllables later. Remember this rule. For example, in this word, it becomes absagen, not absagen, absagen. But if S comes at the end of a word without any vowel after it, then it retains its S sound. As in this particular word, it is Bus. Or this is a good example. We'll have Sechs. It starts with an SA, so we get the Z sound, and at the end it is the S, so that's the S sound. So once again it becomes Sechs. This brings us to the next consonant, which is V. As its name suggests, the sound is going to be F. It's very similar to the F sound. So in German, in order to get the F sound, you can either use an F or a V, but again it is not interchangeable. The words are fixed, so you need to know the spelling of it. So let's take a look at a few examples. Like in this word, it's going to be Vater. Okay, not va but fa, Vater. Or here, verheiratet. Or here, viel, voll, or vor. Now, sometimes we'll have words that begin with a V, but the pronunciation is not a F, rather like in English it's a V. Why does this happen? It's because in most of those cases, those words are international words, and that's why they retain their pronunciation. The commonest of these words you probably have already seen. Let's take a look at a few examples here. For example, this one. It's a verb. It begins with a V, but we don't say fab, we say verb. But remember, you have to bite your lips when you get the V sound. As in English, for a V, you would do that, bite your lips, say verb. The only thing you have to take care of is that it's AR, no? V-A-R, B. So the AR is air, verb, and it ends with a B, so the pronunciation should be a soft P. Once again, verb. Or this one, which is valence. Okay, you might have heard it, the two words actually come together when you're learning grammar, and we call them as verb valence. Valence. Okay, once again, say after me, valence. Or in this one, as in English, it's vitamin. The vitamin. Sometimes in English you might have cases where you call them vitamins, but in German that I is not available. You have to say V. Vitamin, and the mean is long, so say vitamin. Okay, going on to the next one. Many examples where it begins with a V but we don't actually pronounce it as F. I'll just go through the list. It's vocal, which means the vowels, vocable, the words. This is also from the science. Vacuum. It's actually one word where the U comes twice and you have to pronounce each one separately. It's vacuum. We saw it when we did the vowels. When two vowels, the same vowel comes twice, it's called it's one of the diphthongs, and you have to pronounce, you have to elongate it. In this case, it almost becomes like a break in between. So repeat after me. Vacuum. Vacuum. Okay, and one more, very common, many of you would need it. It's visum. There is one name that is quite common in German. This one, the pronunciation is going to be Vera and not Fera. because it's not originally a German name. Now, when we are doing the pronunciation of V, something that's very important is that V comes with EV at the end of a word. For example, all these four friends of ours: nominative, dative, accusative, genitive, etc. Let's take them one by one. The first one of them is nominative. Remember, you have to pronounce it as thief and not tiu or tu. It's not nominative. No, it's nominative. Similarly, this one is not accusative. You say, I don't understand accusative. No, there is nothing to understand in accusative because accusative doesn't exist. You have to say accusative. And it sounds also nice. Then you say, ich verstehe den Akkusativ nicht. But it sounds good. The third one would be dativ. Once again, dativ. And it will be genitive. Genitive. So remember, pronounce it this way. It's not just for these four words. For many other words, let's take this example, which is also very common to English. We say inclusive, or the opposite of it, which would be exclusive. Yeah, so whenever you see EV at the end, remember it should be if. So that's about it as far as V is concerned. Let's go on to the next consonant. So the next consonant is V. Once again, remember that in German you have to pronounce it by biting your lower lip, V. In English, there's a nice one-liner that people learn for remembering how the pronunciation of V and W is. They say, bite your V's and kiss your W's. So that all the English words with W are pronounced with rounded lips. Like what would you do? Whereas the words with V, like verb, etc., are you get the sound by biting the lower lip. In German, you bite everything. V. So even for like the letter itself is V, you have to say V by biting the lower lip, and all the words that you have with this particular consonant will be V. A few examples would be was. These are all our W-Fragen. So just practice with any W-Frage, any W-Wort. Let's take a look at these words quickly. Was, Wasser, wie. If you focus closely, you will hear a little bit of like vibration in, when you're pronouncing that word. No? You have to actually say that. This one would be warum or wunderbar. That's it. Let's hop on to the next. We are going to skip X simply because its pronunciation is nothing to speak of. It's very similar to that of English, and so we will quickly hop on to the next one, which is Ypsilon. This can be a problem. First of all, it is called Ypsilon. It's a lovely name for a letter, I think. Its pronunciation is U. It's very similar to the U umlaut. Like this word would be typisch and not typisch. Coming from English, we'll tend to call it tip, but it's typisch. Repeat after me, typisch. Remember how you pronounce the t sound, the nice tinkling sound when the tongue just touches the bridge between the hard and soft palates. Typisch, typisch. Or this one would be System and not System. Although sometimes you might hear some people will say System. Maybe even in Germany there might be some variants of it, because as you see, this word is not originally German, so you might hear System. But if you're learning, learn the U pronunciation of epsilon and call it zysteme. Zysteme. Okay. The next one would be a nice one, hypothesis. Here, because of our English, we might tend to pronounce it as hypothesis, or hippo. No, it's hypothesis. P is also pronounced as, like when we have to exhale, so we say hypothesis, and the th is just like T, so hypothesis. Or this one, the country would be Egyptian. Egyptian. One last word for epsilon. I love this word. We pronounce it as lyric. You will tend to pronounce it as lyric because of English, but remember it should be lyric. Good. Let's hop on to the last consonant, the Z. I don't think any other consonant gives the students and the teachers so much of a problem than this bugger. Its pronunciation is ts. Remember, the letter is Z. If you speak Devanagari, if you speak Hindi, Marathi, and if you know how to write in the Devanagari script, it is going to be written as half of the followed by a s sound, or in English it will be a ts. So you have to resist all the instinctive temptation to look at this letter and call it a z, and that's a big hurdle to cross, but pay attention and you'll be able to cross it. So don't say zoo when it is zu, no? Zuhause, and not Zuhause, exactly opposite. So say after me, it will be Zuhause. Zuhause. So this one is going to be Zoo and not Zoo. So we saw it in the vowel part. Doppel O is O. It's just a long O, and not, it doesn't become U as in English. So that is one thing to remember. And of course the ts sound, so, or the number zwei. It is not zwei, it is ts, zwei. It's a nice sharp sound. The number is going to be 10. Remember, the vowel A followed by an H is long, so the pronunciation becomes 10. Or this is Zauber, that means magic. And this word, you have to be careful not to mix it with the other word, which is Zauber, and students will instinctively interchange the two, which should not be the case. So repeat after me here, it will be Zauber, or this one would be Zucker. If you say Zucker, it's not as sweet. You should call it Zucker. And I don't know whether it's the last. I have two, that's why it's the second last. It would be die Zeit. No, not Zeit, because there is another word that's Zeit. You know that's a preposition which means since. So if you mix these words, you can imagine how confusing it can get to somebody who's listening. So that's why I pronounce it nice and proper, Zeit. And coming from the same word, we have Zeitung and not Zeitung. Zeitung. I'll see you in the next video where we are going to take a look at the combinations of consonants. See you then. Hi guys, so in this video we are going to take a look at some consonant combinations. We have taken a look at all the consonants and how they sound individually, but when they come together the pronunciation might change. So let's take a look at it. The first one that we are going to see is the consonant combination say ha. Now this has two different pronunciations. The first of the pronunciation is a h, and the say ha combination will be pronounced as h when it comes after these vowels a, o, u. So for example, if you have a word like this, here you see that say ha and it's coming after a, so the pronunciation is going to be dah. Now when you say h, it is slightly different than the h that we have in Marathi or even in Hindi per se. It's not a k, rather it's a little like Urdu, no? Or the Arabic version of it, h. It's a little from the back of your throat. So how do you get it? Try this example. Say a simple k, k, k. When you're saying k, notice what is happening at the back of your throat and say k, k, k. Can you see that the throat is kind of closing to get the k sound? Now try to say h, a simple h sound. H. Is it closing or is it open? If you notice clearly, when you say the h, your throat is open. Now when we say k, as in Marathi, the regular k, our throat still closes. But in German, when you want to pronounce this particular word, you say dach. Your throat should not completely close and it should not be completely open. It should be slightly somewhere there. So you have to practice it a little bit. When, for example, if you have some throat infection, you try to clear your throat and then it's like it's literally that. And maybe in the beginning, if you're trying to practice it, it might hurt your throat a little bit. So again, go easy on it, but try to get it, because just getting that sound right really takes your German pronunciation up another level. So practice it, and this pronunciation comes very often in so many words. Like for example, here we have doch, and it's not doch, but doch, or buch. Once again, we have buch, or this one. What we are learning is Sprache, Aussprache. The next sound that's associated with the same consonant combination is the h sound. It's a soft h, as in ich. Now this is a difficult one to get, because in most Indian languages we do not have this sound. But if you practice well enough, you can still get it. What's the difference? In Indian languages, most of them have a simple sh sound, as in sh. When we do a sh, that's a simple sh sound. This is not it. You cannot say ish. That's not right at all. In Marathi and Hindi, you have the other sh also, that you pronounced from the bottom of your mouth, I think. So it's a slightly harder sounding sh. That's also not it. It's not ish. It's something totally different. It's a very soft ich. There are a couple of tricks to help you get to that pronunciation. I'm sure you might have heard of them, practiced them, even the keys in the practicing. Let's go through these tricks. The first is, take a pen or something. Let me see if I get one here. Yes, I have it here. Get a pen, hold it in your mouth like this, and say ich, ich. What happens is your mouth has to open flat like this, as if you're smiling, and then you should not still try to get the sh, no? Like many people do this, ish. No point. But rather keep your mouth flat, opened, wide, like this and say ich. Chances are that you might get it right. So remember, you have to just smile widely and get the soft sh sound, ich. There's another technique if you find this a little bit confusing, and this is, I think, a little simpler. You try saying the word ja. All of us can say it. Let's have it again. Ja. Now give it a little start. Say ja. Everyone, ja. Once again, ja. And give that start, like make it nice and long, and you will feel the vibration. Say ja. Okay, now whisper it. Ja. Ja. Now stop at the beginning. Say, that's the sound that we need. So if you start with the E sound and then get this ich, that's it. So how you can practice this is by saying out loud ja, and give the start in between. Say ja, 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 and now whisper it. Ja, ja. Stop at ich, ich. That's what you need to get. Let's see how it comes in so many words. So if you get this sound, again your pronunciation is going to improve exponentially. This word, for example, ich, we have seen it anyway. Its forms would be mich or dich, and then we have nicht. How often have you used this word? But you should not say nicht. It's not right at all. It's nicht. But this one, freundlich, freundlich, or Pech, or sprechen. Yeah, it's even in this word, it's sprechen. So say, ich spreche Deutsch. Or the plural form of this one is Bücher. The singular is Buch. Remember, the plural is Bücher. So we saw how the word sounds. Now when does this sound come? If you have the vowels a, o, u, ch is going to be pronounced as ch. But for all other vowels, that means the umlaut, a umlaut, ch will be ech. O umlaut, ch will be öch. And u umlaut, ch will be üch, like in Bücher. Even with the vowel e, it's going to be ich, as we saw in ich, mich, dich. And with the vowel a, it's going to be ech. So that's the consonant combination ch for you. It has two pronunciations, the ch and the h. Remember what is when. So while we are still at the pronunciation of ch as h, it's important to revisit and take a look at these words, although it's not strictly a consonant combination, but the sound is similar. Ig also gives you the pronunciation ich. We have so many numbers. 20. It should not be 20. No, 20, 30, or other words like wichtig. That's a good one because you have both together, wichtig or richtig. That's it. Ig comes in very many words. Remember the pronunciation. So the next consonant combination is sch, and this gives you a very simple sh sound, as we have it in English, as we have it in Hindi, Marathi, in most languages. It's a simple sh. Notice how we produce the sound. It's produced by a rounding of the mouth and the lips. Sh. Many words in German use this. For example, Schule. Notice that it sounds very different than the ch that we heard earlier, that's soft with wide lips. Ich, Schule. Or this one would be Tisch, as against ich, Tisch. Or we have Schade, Schade. Or this one would be Schlaf, Schlafen. Or this one would be waschen, a simple waschen. Sh. So that's it for SCH. It's a very simple and straightforward sound. Sh. So the next consonant combination is PF. It comes in very many words and can sometimes be a little problematic. You just have to remember that it starts with a P and then ends with a F. So it's a simple start with closed lips and then just let the air go. Imagine if you want to like just brush off the strand of hair, like something like that. Many people do that. I don't quite often, but if you do, you already know this pronunciation. Take a look. Let's take a look at a few words. Like here, it would be Pfeifer. You cannot only say Pfeifer. So see where you start the word. Don't say F. Say Pfeifer. Or this one would be Pferd. Once again, Pferd. Or sometimes the word doesn't begin with it. So we'll have Kopf. Again, you have to say Kopf and then go on to say Kopf. Or similarly, Tropf. Or this word would be Kampf. Yeah, practice it. It's really simple, not at all very difficult. Going on to the next consonant combination, we have NG. Why is this complex? Because it is not exactly as it looks. It is a nasal sound. It's a sound. If you know the Devanagari alphabet, the first line of the consonants is K, K, G, G, This is what NG is, the sound. For example, this word would be zingen. It will not be zingen. You don't have to separate the N and the G to make zingen. You have to say zingen, zingen. Or a singer in German would be Sänger, Sänger. Or this word would be hängen, etwas hängen. Or here, fairly common, it would be Übung, Übung. All words that end with UNG will be on, on. And lastly, it will be ding, and the plural which we use very often will be dinger. It is not dinger, but dinger. Okay, so NG comes in very many German words. Practice it. It's fairly simple to pronounce. You just need attention. So the next consonant combination we are going to take a look at is DSCH. Although it looks like 4 consonants, its pronunciation is fairly simple. It's a simple J, as we have in Marathi, Hindi. So this word, it looks very difficult to pronounce, but it's a simple Jungel, Jungel. Remember, here the NG comes, so don't make it Jungel, Jungel. Or this will be Taj Mahal. Yeah, Taj Mahal. See, if you want to write Taj Mahal as we write in English, T-A-J, the J in German is J, so that would be Thai. And that's why in order to get the J sound, you need a D-S-C-H, Taj Mahal. My name is Abhiraj. If I write my name the way I write it, and that's the way I write it, most Germans pronounce it as Abirai. Now if I want to tell them, no, it's not Abirai, but Abhiraj, that's what I need to write it. It looks odd, I know what to do. but write it this way just to tell them that the pronunciation is Abhiraj. So if you have a j sound in your name, this is a very important tip for you. Hopping on to the next, very similar to this, is the consonant combination te sch, and that would be a simple ch. So for example, the language that we are learning is Deutsch. It's a simple ch. Or this country is Tschechische Republik. It's a slightly complex one to get because we have all the sounds coming in here. Tschechische, Tschechische, Tschechische Republik. And the next one is a simple word which is choose, choose. So those are the two consonant combinations, DSCH that gives you a j and TSCH that gives you a ch. So the next consonant combinations that we are going to take a look at are two, ST and SP. Now when a word begins with SP or ST, the pronunciation becomes shp or sht. So for example, here this word will be Stadt and not stat, Stadt. Or this, its shorter form, would be Städtchen. The word is longer but the meaning is shorter. Or here we have stehen and not stehen, stehen. We have still, or we have Stern, Stuhl. Now this word has two possible pronunciations. It goes slightly off the rule. Going by the same logic, it actually should be Stil, which means style, and very many people in Germany also say Stil, for example Lebensstil, etc. But since this particular word is not originally German, it's Latin based, it can also retain its original sound of st, and so there are some people who say Stil, Lebensstil, and that's the way I prefer it. It sounds better to me if I say it as Lebensstil. Similarly, this word is for me Struktur, but if you don't want to confuse yourself, you can say Struktur. That's also correct. In fact, very many people say Struktur. Somehow it sounds nicer to me, and I have also spoken to a few Germans who do that. So Stil and Struktur would be my recommendation to you. Let's hop on to SP, and it's also straightforward. We have Spiel, Spaß, Sparen, Sport, and give me one more. Sprechen. So that's it for ST and SP as a combination. When it begins, the word or the syllable begins with it, the pronunciation is going to be Sp or St. That's it for this module. I'll see you in the next, where we are going to take a look at the vowels, the short and long vowels. See you. Hi guys, welcome to this module in which we are again going to take a look at the vowel sounds, but this time with the focus on the long and short vowels. Whether the word is easy to pronounce or whether it's a little complex to pronounce, the one thing that always plagues all of us German learners is this difference between the long and short vowels. What does it really mean? It means that the vowel in a particular word, if it is long, we need to elongate it, and if it is short, we need to say it quickly. And this often is a problem because our instinctive way of pronouncing the vowels generally depends on the usage of the vowels in our mother tongue. So let's start by taking a look at the long vowel sounds. There are a few indicators that tell us when the vowel is going to be pronounced long. The first of it that we are going to take a look at is something called as the Dehnungsha. What is Dehnungsha? It's simply the ha, the letter ha, that comes after a vowel. So the vowels are a, e, o, u, and in some words, immediately after these vowels, the letter ha might appear. So it would be aha, it will be eha, iha, oha, and uha. This ha is called as the Dehnungsha. The word Dehnung itself means to elongate, to make it long. So that's why Dehnungsha. When you see a vowel followed by a ha, you have to pronounce the vowel long, as in this word. The word is gehen. Okay, the vowel sound here, a, should be long. Now this is a particularly problem word or a problem pronunciation, because most of us will instinctively pronounce it as gehen. We will break the word at the ge, and the second part of it would be the ha-an. This is wrong. The vowel a and the letter ha belong together. You cannot break them in the middle. So if you want to break the word, the first three letters should be taken as a unit and the next two letters should be taken as a unit. That means it becomes gehen and the vowel sound is long. So let's pronounce it gehen. We'll take a look at a few other examples. Sohn, the O followed by the ha sound. The O followed by the letter ha makes a long O. So once again, Sohn. The second is Ahnung. Again, aha is long. Ahnung. And the third is Dehnung. Eha is the same concept. Similar to gehen, we have this word which is sehen and not zehen, but sehen and stehen. Once again, stehen. That's it about the Dehnungsha. So another indicator for long vowels is the letter sz. Whenever there is an sz in a word that comes after a vowel, the vowel is pronounced long. It's a long vowel. For example, in this word, there is an O and after it there is the sz, so the O should be pronounced long and the pronunciation is gross. It's not gross, it's not gross, it is gross. Remember, long O is O. Let's take a look at a few other examples. In this word, it will be Spaß and not Spaß. Or here, it will be Straße. Again, gross. Or here, bloß. And for this one, it will be Fuß. It will not be Fuss, it will be Fuß. So that's it about words with an sz. remember, the vowel before the sh is always going to be a long vowel. So the final indicator for the long vowel sounds are the diphthongs. Remember diphthongs? We must also remember that diphthongs are always long. Diphthongs are two vowels that come together, as in this word, for example. AE comes together, so the pronunciation is going to be tile. We are never going to rush through it and say tile. We are going to say tile. Or here it is seal and never till, but seal. Or this one, AU, remember the pronunciation is oi, and it's a nice long oi. So the word would be oiler. Once again, oiler. A few other examples. This is going to be blau. Or here, aufräumen. We have two diphthong sounds in this one, so both are long. Aufräumen. And finally, prize. So remember, diphthongs are always going to be long. When we did the umlaute, we said that the umlaute are always functioning like diphthongs. They are two vowel sounds. So generally you'll have the umlaute being pronounced long, but there are a few cases where they are also pronounced short. We are going to take a look at them separately later on. For now, remember that the diphthongs are generally pronounced long. So those were the three indicators of long vowel sounds. We took a look at the Dehnungs-H, that is the letter H that follows a vowel. We took a look at the sh. Whenever sh comes after a vowel, the vowel is long. And finally, we saw the diphthongs, which are always pronounced long. Now, there are few words where you will neither see the Dehnungs-H, nor the sh, nor a diphthong. Still, the word is pronounced long. And for those words, there is no real rule as such. You will need to learn it on its own. For example, this word is always wrote, and it's not rot, it's wrote. Or here, it will be blut, and not blut, but blut. Or in this particular case, we have moaned, and not mond, but moaned. Why is it like that? There is not a very clear rule about it, so it's best to learn the individual word together with its pronunciation, not just with its spelling and its article if it's a noun, but also its pronunciation. The dictionaries will try to visually also show it to us. Nowadays in the internet you will also be able to easily listen to the sounds of the words. So please make a note that you need to know how a word sounds when you're learning that word. And that's it for the long vowels. In the next video we are going to take a look at the short vowels. See you there. Hi guys, so in this video we are going to take a look at the kurze Vokale, the short vowel sounds, and a few indicators that help us identify when the vowel is going to be short. So the first indicator of a short vowel is a doppelkonsonant. A doppelkonsonant means two consonants, the same consonant comes twice, as in this case. We have A followed by two T's. So the pronunciation is going to be blatt, and not blatt, but blatt. So think about it this way. we have the vowel and then the two consonants. The two consonants put pressure on the vowel such that the vowel becomes short. And the same logic will apply to almost all the words that will have a double consonant. The vowel will be short. Let's take a look at a few other examples. Fluss. Here we have the U followed by the SS, and so the U becomes short, so we pronounce it as fluss. Or we have common. We have the O followed by MM, and the O will be short, so it will be common. Remember, short O will be pronounced as A, and a long O will be pronounced as O. So you should never pronounce this as kommen. Ich komme. No, you should always say kommen. Ich komme. Another word, null. We have the U followed by double L. The pronunciation is going to be null. Let's take a look at a few other examples. This will be toll and not toll, because it's a double L, so the O is going to be short. A short O is always A. Toll. Or this word Mann. We have A followed by NN. It will be Mann. Or this word Zimmer. We have an E followed by MM. It's short. Zimmer. So one thing to remember about Doppelkonsonanten is that the consonant sound is not repeated twice. For example, in this word, it's simply common. The MM just gives you a simple M and not mamma, not kommen, but rather common. So the double consonant only works on the vowel and makes it short. So never pronounce the two consonants separately like kommen. No, common. Or in this word, it's simply going to be platt. The two T's, zweimal T, will produce a simple T sound, just that the vowel will be short. Blatt and not plattet. Or here, it is going to be Mann. The two N's do not give you Mann. Mann. Remember that. So now we come to the second indicator of short vowels. This is similar to the doppel consonant, but instead of having a doppel consonant, we have two different consonants, both of which go to produce the same sound. For example, the consonant combination of C and Ka, C-Ka. Both C-Ka will produce the sound K. So the principle is very similar. Two consonants producing the same sound will shorten the vowel, as in this word that will be pronounced as backen and not baken. Backen, because it is the A followed by C-Ka, and C-Ka produce just Ka. Backen. Or in this particular word, we have lecker. A followed by C-Ka, lecker. Or here we have Zweck. Again A followed by C-Ka, Zweck. So similar to C-Ka, there is another consonant combination which produces the same sound, and that is the consonants D and T together. Like in this word, it's Stadt. So here we don't have to pronounce the D and T separately. We don't have to start, no, we simply have to do stat or here. This is a conjugation of the verb lernen, the third person conjugation, and we simply pronounce it as let. And so de and te together give us a simple t sound, which makes the vowel short. This is a place where, in spite of having the umlaut, the vowel is going to be short because we have two consonants following the vowel. So that becomes a rule. So in general, whenever you have two or more consonants producing the same sound, the vowel is going to be short. So taking the principle further, we sometimes have two different consonants that will not pronounce the same sound, but that will pronounce one sound. So two consonants merging into one to give us one sound. For example, the consonant combination PF, which will give you the sound F. So it's a funny sound. You have to start with closing your lips and then opening them, releasing the air to get an F, like F. And the vowel before this is always going to be short, as in this word, Kopf. So see that P and F are combining to give us just one sound, and that's why the vowel will be short. Short O is A. So it's going to be Kopf and never Kopf. Say with me, Kopf. Or this word, Tapfer, which means brave, courageous. Tapfer. Another consonant combination that will follow the same principle and make the vowel preceding it short is going to be Ft. So the pronunciation will be Ft. So let's take a look at this example. The word is Luft. So here you see U followed by Ft, and Ft almost make one sound. So it's Luft and never Luft. No, Luft. Or Kraft. The same principle, Kraft. So the next consonant combination is St. But this is the St that comes after a vowel. Remember, when St comes in the beginning of a word or a syllable, its pronunciation is st. But when it comes at the end, or rather when it comes after the vowel, its pronunciation is a simple st. For example, in this word, which is bist, and not beast, but bist. Or here, lust. Or here, fasten. Now we go on to another consonant combination. Here we'll have three consonants combining to give us one sound, and all of you know this. It is the SCH, which will give you a sh sound. It's a nice sh, rounding of the lips. So three consonants giving you one sound is always an indicator that the vowel before that is going to be short. As in this word, it's going to be tish, and never tish, rather tish. Or here we have frush, or in this particular word we'll have zwischen. So repeat after me all the three words: tish, frush, zwischen. So that's about the concept of two or more consonants combining to produce one sound. There might be other combinations that keep coming. We can't go through each and every one of them here, but doesn't matter. Whenever you see two or more consonants giving you just one sound, remember that the vowel before that has to be short. That's it. I'll see you in the next video.